Hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
Welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. We moved into the month of April. It is the 6th of April, and we got a great show for everybody tonight. Aamir Syed of The Unknown is on tonight's show, as well as my girl, Liv Christine. I haven't spoken to her in about a year, so it'd be nice to catch up. I have a good time talking with her because, my heart flutters a little bit when we do those Zoom calls. I get to see her in her pajamas sitting there doing interviews. I kind of like that. We got a great show for everybody tonight. Right there, Overkill. In Union, we stand from their second record, Taking Over, that came out way back in the day in 1987. When that record came out, this was actually the first song I heard off the record. I felt that the record was a little bit more polished than Feel the Fire, so I thought the band was going to go in a little bit more of a commercial direction, but the album was just blistering, even heavier than Feel the Fire when you think about it, outside of this one song. And it's funny because Overkill throughout the 80s, I mean, no, the band got a late start putting records out. The first album didn't come out to 85. By that time, Metallica had already broke, with Ride the Lightning. They were signed to Atlantic Records, or Electro Records. I don't remember which one it was. I'm getting older, but they were signed to a major label. Raven was signed to a major label. Anthrax was getting signed to a major label. Almost all of these bands coming off the Megaforce label in the early days, and Overkill kind of rode that Megaforce wave, I think, until Horoscope came out in 1991. They were finally signed to Atlantic Records when I Hit Black came out in 93. And that always surprised me that Atlantic Records didn't sign these guys earlier. I mean, who knows if the way they went would have been the same. They did change a lot of bands, Atlantic Records, when they signed. Raven was a completely different band when they got signed to a major label. They made them go a little bit more commercial. A lot of people didn't care for that record. Would have happened with Overkill? I don't know, but by the time they got signed in 93, the grunge movement had already taken over, and metal bands are dropping by the wayside at that time, at least the traditional metal bands from the 80s. You had bands like Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Nirvana. They were the ones that everybody was signing and playing. So it kind of struck me funny that they would sign Overkill in 93 to a major label deal. And within a couple of years anyway, the Overkill started sounding like a lot of those bands with WFO and The Killing Kind and Necroshine. It wasn't until the 2000s that they started coming back around to that traditional metal. But to me, nothing could beat that original Overkill lineup. It's just golden. I know they hate each other with a passion. Bobby Gustafson does not get along with Dee Dee Verney, and doesn't get along with Blitz, and Rat's been out of the band longer than all of them. But it would be amazing if they could put it back together, the four of them, for just like one tour when they decide that the thing is going to end. It would be great to see that happen. Oh my God, I would love to see those guys. The first time I saw them, I think live, was 1982. They were playing in a club called October's out here in Staten Island where I live now. I'm really a Brooklyn-born boy and was in Brooklyn until I got married and came out here in the early 90s. I think the first time I saw them was 82 in October, and somebody has stolen their fog machine. They were taking a collection so they could buy a new one because a fog machine, back then Overkill still played with the capes on and stuff like that. A fog machine was like a big part of the band's, music. So there you go. All right. Well, we're gonna get to our first guest at 6:30. Liv Christine will be on at about 7:15 here in New York time. We got a very short month here on the show, so let's enjoy these next 2 weeks. I packed up a great guest. We only have 2 weeks of shows because Easter Sunday is coming up in 3 weeks. We don't do a show on Easter Sunday just to be with the family. And the week after that, we are going on vacation a little early this year. So I guess on the bright side, instead of being short 1 week in May when I normally go away, you'll have a full month of May shows. There you go. All right, let's head over to France. A little ADX for everybody. I can't pronounce the name of the song, so I'll just play it.
Que se jette dans le vide, sur la grille court vers l'infini. PS des crimes, tu arrêtes des puissances malignes, ton orgasme grandit dans le sang. PS des crimes, c'est dans tes froids, des rapaces lointains, tes restes
right, we kick that set off with ADX. Let me see if my Brooklyn accent can pronounce the French accent. They Sue Du Crime. Not too bad, right? And after that, Defender with Ghost Rider. They only had that one EP out, I think around 87, Symbol of Devotion. It was a great EP, but the sound quality was terrible, like most of the stuff that came out at that time. A lot of bands didn't have the money to put out any decent quality material, but I still love that album. They got back together in 2012, but I never heard anything of them or about them since that time, so who knows? Maybe I'll reach out to them, see if I get them on the show. That'd be pretty cool. And right there, Blessed Death from the great metal state of New Jersey with Omen of Fate. I know I tell some of these stories over again, but we always have new listeners every week. But, Blessed Death, I saw them at the Battle of the Bands at Lemoore in 84. And when those guys came on stage, I always say they looked like they came out of the backwoods of Deliverance. I mean, these were some scary looking friggin' guys. I mean, they were real badasses. They were tough, especially Larry the singer, but they were nice guys too. And I filmed them one night during one of their shows. I sent that videotape off to Johnny Z from Megaforce, and he signed them to a deal. So I like to say I had a little hand in that. And I absolutely love those guys. That song, Omen of Fate, the band was coming back from a rehearsal one night in their car. That's when, you piled 8 guys into a car and you went out for the night. And I got into a really bad accident. The car flipped over. It was on fire. There was smoke coming out of the car. And Merciful Fate was playing on the radio. And they said that's what kind of brought them around. That woke them up from, I guess, having concussions and being injured. And they all got out of the car safely. And they wrote that song about it. So if you listen to the lyrics, it says, King saved us from death. And that's what it's all about. Omen of Fate, Merciful Fate. It was an omen that Merciful Fate was playing on the radio that night. Some really good stuff there. Okay, we're going to get to Aamir in about 5 or 6 minutes. I got enough time to play. Let me see if I got enough time. I don't even know how long the song is. Yeah, you know what? I don't think we're going to have enough time to do that. We'll do it later. Primal has a new record coming out called Iron Age. Glenn Rogers has sent it to me. I'm going to play a song off that. We'll do it after the interview. We'll get to that then. I got to get to some requests also. So let's play, you know what? How about we just jump right into some of... we'll do that one. Okay. You know what? Let's play some unknown. I'll get Aamir on the phone right after this song. This is the title track of the debut record. This is Vanishing Point.
Trapped inside a decaying mind, is this Darwin design? We are lost, there's no way home. Singularity take our soul. across a bloated horizon, stitching the fabric of the universe.
All right, let's get Amir on the line.
Hello?
Amir, this is Mike. You're on the air live, but I guess you know that already.
I do, Mike. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. It is a pleasure to have you on here today. I came across your band about a year and a half ago, which was a little later than other people did, but man, this album just blew me away. And I mean, I play it nonstop and I absolutely love it. I said, I got to find this guy, reach out to him, and get him on the show.
Well, it's a real pleasure to be on. I'm really honored that you said that. It's funny because we called ourselves the Unknown because we didn't think anyone would ever know who we were, and we called the album Vanishing Point because we thought you'd never hear from us again. So yeah, so hearing stuff like this, it's always a bit of a shock, but I really do appreciate it, man. This album is
Uh,
a love letter to kind of the old school heavy metal.
there's definitely that old school vibe, especially in a lot of the riffing, but it's also, people don't like to use the word modern for some reason because they feel like I
Hmm.
don't know, it's just like a bad word in metal for some reason. I don't know why, but it's got
Yeah.
whatever, it's got everything happening like new today with the newer bands that are coming out, that are into metal, but yeah, you got a little, bit of the old school in there too. I think it's a really great mix and combo, and people think of a lot of thrash metal bands that are coming out now in this, this decade. They always have like guttural vocals or those screeches and screaming where you got,
Hmm.
really melodic vocals and a real good singer.
Yeah, we have a phenomenal singer. You got really lucky with him, and you're right. I like to personally keep a very open mind, and because I think the younger fans and of the modern genre, they're like that. And I think as us, kind of old school guys, we should adopt that mentality because the truth is, we're all making this underground heavy music, so we have this thing that connects us, and those fans are like super open minded. We played with shows with like gent bands and metalcore bands and stuff like that, and I mean those guys are like just not only great musicians but like very open minded. They're always very receptive to like whatever it is that we're doing, and so you get you introduce this to new people. And that sets them down the path like, hey, maybe I like this old school thrash, or maybe I like this old school like melodic metal, so and our singer, he's a younger guy, and he's got just such a breadth of influences. His dad's a singer, so I mean you're talking like all the way back to like old Kansas records and 70s prog rock, and then he's very well versed in old heavy metal, but he loves the new stuff too. He loves the metalcore and all that, and I think he brings this element in, and it created, I think, something a bit unique and something I didn't expect when we went into the studio.
Absolutely, and when you talk like that, it sounds, people say, well, they kind of like did what they did to appeal to a lot of different people, a lot of different audiences. But if you really listen to the record, it's all natural. This is just the way I feel it came out. I don't think you could actually sit down and plan
Yeah.
to write like this and appeal to so many different people. That's,
No.
you could tell by the quality of the songs and where the songs are at. And this is just a natural flow of progression out of what you created musically.
Yeah, yeah. The truth is, so this album, the way it was written, uh, we didn't have a band when it was written. I didn't have a singer. It was just me and the other guitar player. Right, his name's Bob. We call him the Maverick. And we are just friends since college. And I had moved to Connecticut maybe just a couple years ago, and I knew he lived down there. This is back in 2019. I knew he lived pretty close by, and I said, "Hey, Bob, listen, man, I moved here. I know you're close by. We should like try to make this record that we've been talking about forever. We always tried and could just never get it right." And I just started writing some riffs, and we started sharing, collaborating. And to me, like I was just drawing from influences like Middle of the Road and Jack Panzer. Like those are the main influences, and some of the thrash stuff. And we put some of these songs together and put some lyrics together. And then it came time like, hey, we should like at least demo it and get like a real drummer. So I called around a bunch of studios in the area, and I said, hey, do you guys know any drummers who would want to like do a session recording for us? And we found someone who's really great. He's not the drummer we have now, but this guy was awesome. And I asked him, I was like, hey, this sounds really good. You have to know a singer. And I said just jokingly, he's like, yeah, my roommate's a singer. And that was Matt Fisher. Matt became our singer. I spoke to him real quick. He sent me some demos, and I just needed someone who could sing in key because I wanted a clean singer, for the record. Uh, Little did I know that he could also do harsh vocals very effectively. But I didn't know that till we got into the studio. He's like, I'm just gonna, show you what I did for this, and then you just tell me, what you think. And it was way better than I expected. I think that the vocal element elevated the rest of the songs to me.
Was this meant to be more of like a project or one-off type thing when you first were thinking about it or starting it, or did you know from the beginning that you wanted to put a full band together and give it a go?
No, no, it was literally just meant to be a project. I didn't know what it entailed to be in a band, and quite frankly, the thought of it was very daunting at the time. And because I've failed in so many times, I was like, let me just set the bar a little bit lower and just like write this record. And I want to showcase Bob's talents as well. And I was like, let's just put out this project just for us, just to say we did something like that we're proud of. And if someone 10, 20 years from now discovers this record, hey, that was pretty cool, I'm happy with that. um, so when we finished the record, the other guys were like, we really like these songs, and we like to play them live, like just at least one or two shows. And it wasn't hard to convince me. I'm like, okay, but if we do go that route, like even if it's just a couple of shows, we have to do it right. I want us to like really rehearse and make sure that we do the songs justice, because we're really proud of it. And so we did that, and we played a couple of shows, and after that, like you get that reception, and you kind of just want more of it, and that's the honest truth. And I was just like, let's just keep going. And then I've had friends in bands for 20 something years that have said positive things, and that was really encouraging to me. I had no idea how it would be received. Like objectively, when I listened to the album when it was done, while I was proud of it, I was like, it just sounds kind of all over the place with like all these different styles. We got thrash song, we got a Jack Panzer style song, and it's a little bit everywhere. And so I didn't know how it would be perceived by people I look up to. But they had some really encouraging things to say, and I felt more confident. And so we just kept going, and it's been growing. Um, the craziest thing was, I think I want to say it was the winter of 2023. So the album was out for almost a year at this point, and I got a message from Noity, the former drummer of Middle of the Road,
Yeah.
and he said, "Hey, I found your album," and he's like, "I would like to put it on Golden Core Records," and that was the most validating moment for me. That okay, like this reached the right audience, because I cite Manila Road as like our main influence. So that was it. And so once we did that, I was like, I want to continue doing this, and the rest of the band agreed.
That's a great thing when something like that happens because he came across something that you didn't send to him. He wasn't, you weren't looking for people to sign you at that time, and people just that's how I came across it. I get like 100. Must get like 100 CDs a week from bands. They're like they want me
Oh,
to
I'm
play them or
sure.
come on the show, and going through everything gets so daunting sometimes. It takes me a while to find one good one, like that one good apple in the bunch. That's how I felt when I came across your music. I just typed in the unknown to look up something about something else. I looked at your bank. I said, "Oh, this looks pretty good." I was like, "Holy shit! How did I not hear about these guys? I mean, how did I not hear about them?" That's what bothers me because
Because we're the
there's
unknown.
so much yeah, there's so much going on the internet that to find that one good thing that's out there. Sometimes it's like finding a needle in a haystack, but when you do, you want to just get out there and promote it. And I'm glad that Golden Core picked up on this, got it out there for people. Definitely doing it that way. There's more distribution and there's more help. I mean, that's always a great thing. So when that happens, and now you say to yourselves, "I'm going to keep this thing going. We're all happy about this." What's the next plan? Do you start thinking, "Hey, let's work on new music, put out a new record"?
Yeah, we're actually going into the studio in June. Uh, and the coolest thing is that now I have a band, and it's very collaborative. That was my dream, is to like collaborate. One person can't write everything, or two people. We need fresh ideas. And another thing is having a singer to work through the things, because for our style of music, the vocals are probably the most important element from an audience perspective. And the choruses, of course, are really important. And so I can sit and work through with him. I learn a little bit more about what works, and we go back and forth. And he continually surprises me with the things he can do. So he's only just scratched the surface from what I've seen. But yeah, we've written some songs. I think they're uh, definitely way better than what we've had on the first album. And so, yeah, we're going to record maybe about half of it in June, because we have a run of dates right now going through the spring. And then, we'll probably finish it off hopefully in the winter time. There's just a couple more tracks that I want to finish up. And then, yeah, we'll have the second album ready, and we'll probably shop it around to some labels, and hopefully someone will pick it up, and we can start promoting that next year.
Yeah, I don't think you have. I don't think you're gonna have any trouble having somebody pick up this record. And yeah, this is a busy month for you guys. You literally have shows every week, all over the place, up and down the East Coast. You're all over.
Yeah, yeah. So we are going to let's see. We started with Dingbat last night, which was fantastic. We got Massachusetts next weekend, and then later in the month we got Youngstown, Ohio, Washington D.C. in May, Brooklyn, and then Delaware. And then we have some stuff. Then we're gonna take a break, do the studio thing, and just kind of catch our breath, and then go back on the road in the fall. I think we're gonna go down to the Midwest. So we have a few dates lined up that we'll announce pretty soon.
Oh, that's great. Do you still think that playing live is a great way of bringing in new people? Because as a kid going to clubs, half the bands that were up in the bill you never heard of before, you never saw them before, you didn't get the music. There was no. I'm talking about the '80s. There weren't records out by a lot of these
Yeah.
bands. There were demo tapes, but you always discovered new music by going to a live venue, and you didn't have to hear it on YouTube. You didn't watch a show before you went there. You just
Yep.
went there, and if the band was good, you said, "Oh shit, I hope these guys put something out. I want to hear it." So, do you still find that playing live is a great way to win over new fans that may not have heard of the band yet?
I think so. It's weird because we do play shows, and we promote our shows very hard. So venues, if you're listening, we actually do put down our own money and we promote our shows to get people there. But yeah, the people that come out to these shows, they've never heard us before, and it's a great way to connect. In my opinion, when it comes to music, and I might just be old school, there is no better connection than in person. Just feeling live music, and interfacing with people afterwards. It's completely different. All of my connections, my most meaningful connections in music, have been really in person.
True.
Um,
I mean,
so yeah, I think that's the way. But online is good too, because that's how we've got discovered by a lot of people. And
yeah.
that's how we got invited to the Midwest last year. Someone found us through some of the ads I was running for the band for the album, and he said, "Hey, I really like your stuff. We're an old school thrash band. Come down to Indiana." And then we planned it, and we just went down. So like it's a
That's the
little
way
bit
to
of a
do it.
hybrid.
Yeah. Do you feel like
Yeah,
more of other people's jobs to put on bands today? Because I remember a time when a promoter had to promote the show, not the band. The band just had to show up and play. That was their only job. It was the promoter's job to promote the show. The
yeah.
club hired the promoters. But bands have to do everything. They have to be like all in one today. They have to be the promotion person, the recording studio, the engineer. They have to do everything. Do you
Mhm.
find that more and more it keeps changing where the bands are more responsible for doing pretty much everything?
Yeah, I find it really ironic that it's the job promoter has the word promote in it, but they don't really do it. But yeah, like, but I also have very much a do-it-yourself kind of approach to things anyway, naturally, and that's all I've known, because this is the only band that I've been in that's actually kind of been this active, and so I've only known doing things like this. Of course, I have wonderful support from my bandmates, but yeah, I'm learning as I do this each show each year how to promote more and more effectively to get people to shows, and I've had to kind of adjust my mentality, just be a little bit more business minded, because I think in music the art starts and ends kind of in the writing process. After that, it's very much business oriented, because you have to pay someone to record your music, and you have to be respectful of that. Like, this is their business, is how they make money. So, understanding that when you go pitch yourself to a venue, it has to be from the perspective like, hey, this venue is trusting you with one of 52 Saturdays in a year, and that's when they make their most money. And so you have to deliver to them. You have to make sure that you do everything in your power to ensure that they have a good night. And then think of it from an audience perspective as well. When you're you know putting together your mix, like, how does it sound to the audience, and less so how does it sound to us on stage. Like, we have to be able to get through the hardships of poor mixing on stage, to make and really make sure the priorities that the audience is getting, a good sound and a good show, regardless. So
Yeah.
it's a shifting of mentality, and it becomes a bit more selfless, understanding the fact that bands need funding, and that usually comes from our salaries, and
Yeah.
understand that you're not going to make that back monetarily. The return on investment is just really the joy of doing it and connecting with other like-minded people.
Sure. People don't realize like what you just said is that the clubs have those 52 Saturdays a year where they have to make money. And they got to bring bands in that are going to
Yeah.
bring people in that's going to make the money. It is a business. And do you find that the club owners get more involved in like who's playing at their club, or they just leave it up to the booking agent who's really the promoter these days?
Yeah, it varies, man. It really varies. There's places that I've booked, and they're just like, this is the date. You're in charge of your own ticketing. You're in charge of your own door person. You're in charge of how you want to run it. It just has to end at this time, and that's it. Um,
Yeah.
and then other places are a little bit more involved. They're like, hey, we're going to help you put together a show. I know, I have some bands I want to bring in that I know will draw. This is your job. What you have to do. You have to promote this, this, and this. And just show up, and you're on at this time. And we're flexible, man. We're just grateful for any opportunity, and we want to show these venues that, like, we're professionals, that we value the opportunity that's been given to us, and we want to make sure people show up, have a good time, and buy drinks.
True, absolutely. I was in a hardcore band in the '80s, and we played tons of shows, like from like '84 to like '89 when we broke up. And I mean,
Yeah,
clubs back then would just hire anybody because the scene was hot, so they would just take any bands that came on. Or we used to hook up with other bands who had maybe a better reputation, not a better reputation, but were more known than we were, and we catch on with them, and then we build up. I remember the one time we played CBGB. Before we played there, you had to audition for Hilly Crystal on the place, so you shoved
oh
during the
wow.
week in the morning when he was like, when the place was closed, and you'd have to set up and play for him. He would sit in a chair right in the middle of the room just staring at you, and you'd have to play for him. Hope that he would say, okay. I remember going out there, we played like two songs, like, and back then, hardcore band, our songs are 30 seconds long. So you play two songs,
Oh
and he's
yeah.
like, he just get up and walk out and leave. You're like, holy shit, we're not playing here. Then a week
What?
later, you get a call, come play tomorrow at 2 o'clock. I'm like, okay. That was how it was. That
That
was
is
terrifying for a
insane.
17-year-old kid. Yeah, especially when you're a teenager. We were
I
kids.
can't imagine.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
And there
Was
was a
it
CB.
like?
There was
Was it? Did it feel? Oh, go on. Go on.
no, no, no. You're right. It felt really weird being up there. It was very awkward.
Yeah, like you
And
just have this like one guy sitting in a chair watching you.
Just sitting there. I remember years ago they came out with that movie CBGBs where Alan Rickman played Billy Crystal, and they showed
Yep,
him sitting
yep.
in the chair watching the band play. I was like, holy shit! He did that even back into the '70s. That was his thing, and it's like, holy crap! But it's a weird. And the funny thing is that when you go over to show up that day to play, we couldn't even get into the club because we were like we were like 14 to 17 years old. So we used to have to sneak in our drummer
Oh,
in the
that's
drum
right.
case to get him into the club.
That's so funny. God, I love these
Yeah,
old stories. It's like there's a rite of passage that's been lost a little bit. You
yeah.
know, like we, yeah, we like a lot of the modern bands don't have stories like this. But goddamn, like there's something about that, and I think that that character that you guys built, that that tenacity, it really came out in the music, and that's what made that music so unique, and it just can't be recreated.
Yeah, absolutely. I came into a time when the scene just started out of it. It wasn't even started yet, so I was there from the beginning of it for the metal scene and the crossover and the hardcore scene. So but like, I feel like we're in the renaissance right now. We're in like the second version of it. And there's so many young kids that are coming out to shows and supporting bands, and especially guys like you. I mean, that's the great thing about this. And you keep busy with the tours, a new record coming out. I mean, I can't wait for that. I'm so excited to hear new music. But, when you talk about Vanishing Point, I mean, I know it's not a concept record, but if you looked at the song titles going down, it almost like tells a story in a way.
That's to me is my favorite kind of metal. Is To me it's storytelling, right? And when I first listened to like Iron Maiden, like it became my favorite band, and I realized years later it's because they were telling stories. And heavy metal, it's so crazy to say this, but it was my segue into my love of art and literature and history and other music, other types of music, like other genres of music. I became a music fan. I want to be versed in music and all of these other aspects of art and culture and literature. And so, yeah, to me, I just wanted to tell my version of these stories. So Bastard King, for example, is based off Shakespeare play. It's off Richard III, and that's like a middle of the road thrashy type of tune. Yeah, but every song we have tells some sort of story.
Do you ever think you might work on some sort of concept record? I mean, they could be hit or miss. They don't always go over well. People feel like, you
Yeah,
got to listen to the whole thing. But, there are so many bands that have put these concept records out where they make each song tell a story that kind of ties in the whole thing together, but yet everyone's individual can stand on its own. Is that something that interests you?
I have a couple of thoughts on that. I think one, the landscape of music has changed so much that there is so much music out that I even think if you put out a concept album, that a lot of people won't realize it is a concept album because it takes like back in the day you'd sit with your record and it was just a very solitary experience. You just put on your headphones, you held a lyric sheet, you sat there. And I think the music listening experience has changed a little bit with that. With streaming, you just kind of it's a little bit more fleeting. So that's one challenge. And I think the other challenge is a personal challenge for me. It's daunting, and I'm not sure I could pull it off. I might need some more experience with songwriting in order to do that. I will tell you this: on the new album, there are about two songs that are related. So it's like a mini concept, if you will.
Okay. That sounds pretty good. I mean, the first record was basically all your baby. I mean, you put it together, you wrote most, if not all, the songs. Now you said like you got this band together and you want everybody contributing, everybody writing together. Do you think it would change the direction of the sound of the music, or are all you guys on the same page musically that the influence that each one has can lend to what the unknown should be or sound like?
Yeah, we're on the same page musically. I'm happy to say that it's going to be essentially a more refined, well thought out version of the first album. But there's going to be like some elements are going to be a little bit new and different in terms of like not progressive, but a little bit some proggier elements and some kind of arrangements that are just a bit different. But other than that, the main focus is to really just have really strong, memorable choruses and instrumentals and things like that.
Well, I hope you get something like the Prophets here because I love those long songs. I love when you get like these almost 8 minute long
Oh,
songs.
thank
So I
you.
feel like the band can really flesh everything out. When it's a good song, you never want it to end. You want it to go on forever. Not like the song in
Yeah,
Never Ends, but you just want it to last.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. I have a crazy story about Prophets there. So that song is actually about. It's a short story that I read in college. Right, it's by the same name. It's called The Prophet's Hair, written by Salman Rushdie, who's kind of a bit of a
Yep.
controversial figure. Yeah, I'm sure you know. And but I discovered, for years I was told never to read his stuff, but I had a college assignment to do, and I absolutely fell in love with this story and his writing. He's one of my favorite authors. So we put together this song, and I wanted to take a crack at writing an epic. Looking back, I would definitely change some things on this song, but it's pretty good. Um, but the morning that I got the first mix of this album was the same morning that the news break out that he was attacked. I don't know if you remember the attack, but he was stabbed
Yeah, the guy stabbed him. Yeah.
and almost murdered. Yeah, so it was kind of crazy that that happened like at the same day. I'm like, oh, I got the first initial mix of the song, and then I see this news this news headline. I was just like, wow, that kind of freaked me out a little bit. And I was like, man, I hope he doesn't die because I'd have to like make this song a dedication to him, and I don't want to do that. Because I would lose one of my favorite authors. But thankfully, he's still with us, and but yeah, yeah, that's kind of the story behind that song.
You could have always changed the name of the song to The Prophet's Eye.
Yeah,
You could
yeah.
have
At
did
that point,
that.
it was already written. It was already mixed.
Yeah, but yeah, you
Could
don't mess
avoid a
around with your
potential
lyrics.
lawsuit too.
Yeah, but that's why I say I love you
No,
don't mess
no.
around with your lyrics. It's not the usual sex, drugs, and rock and roll and stuff like that. A lot of if people really listen to it and hear what's going on, a lot of these songs have really deep meaning to them. I mean, people can make anything they want out of a song. It might not be what you intended when you wrote it, but they find their own meaning of it. But the lyrics are really deep in a lot of these songs and really well thought out.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you for giving it that deep of a listen. Yeah, the lyrics were really important to me, and it was difficult for me because it was like doing all this stuff on your own is just it's a lot of work. And now that the band is um, like busier, and I have to do all sorts of other administrative stuff, it's daunting to think about that. Good thing is our singer is also an amazing lyricist, and he has written some absolutely beautiful lyrics to his new album. So when we release that, I think you're going to be very surprised with the stuff that he's come up with. We work on them together too. Like I'll write up a draft and send it to him. The great thing now is that he can change things to suit his cadence, whereas before we didn't have that flexibility just because like we had studio time booked and he had to make the best of what we had. But now he's like, hey, I really love this line. I'm just gonna switch this around because it suits the way I want to sing it. I want to I'll use this little run for it. And that that flexibility has been so great. So that's why I think this new album is going to be stronger.
Well, going into the studio with this record, your first record, and a lot of people like you said, bands got to fund themselves most of the time. So you put away so much money. So here's what we
Yeah,
need to go in there and record this record with. And a lot of times people forget when the record is done, they got to mix it, they got to engineer it, and it's a lot more money. Then that's where things
yeah,
start going downhill because you're like, oh man, we don't have enough money to put in all the hours we need to mix this. So you try to
no,
jam it all in there, and people forget about that part of it. A lot of bands. So, but this has a pretty good mix to it, in my opinion. I don't think it's bad at all.
no, no. I think he did a really great job. It's funny because I picked this studio not because he's a metal studio. I looked around and I listed a bunch of samples of places. He understood dynamics, right? He does a lot of singer songwriter, a lot of pop rock stuff, but he understood dynamics, and that's what I really wanted for our record because there's some soft stuff, there's loud stuff, and he really understood that. So he got it from that perspective, and that's really what I needed. And so I thought he did a great job, and especially not being like a primarily a metal, not his primary genre, although he's very well versed in it. And yeah, I think it came out really well. And the new album is going to be just a little bit different, where I just want a really large, more thunderous sound.
I'm sure you're going to get that. I mean, a lot of bands do record themselves these days. The recording equipment. I'm not saying it's cheap, but it's affordable, and they can have their own home studios.
It
You
is.
prefer to go to outside of that and let other people work with you on it because you get that that outside opinion on what you're doing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I definitely one. I need someone who's an actual sound engineer, right? I don't have that expertise. I can plug something in and record it. After that, I need a sound engineer to make it sound good. Um, but yeah, the way this band operates within people in the band and with anyone we're working with, such as a producer, is you have to be honest, even if it's brutally honest. Spare no feelings. There are no egos here. The main goal is we want the best song possible. So I encourage all types of feedback. So I do need to work with people that are very open vocally, not just going to be yes men.
True. I saw some of the videos last night, some of the pictures of the show. My mind wanted to go, my body just didn't allow me to get there last night. I mean,
Oh, no
Electrocution,
worries.
Bastard Skull, Attacker, you guys. Is it
Oh,
important to have friends in this scene that you could connect with and hook up with to put on shows like this and make things like this happen?
the metal community, man, that's what it's all about. And that last night show meant so much to me. That was our first high profile show, first time at Dingbats, and we're opening for a band that I absolutely worship growing up, who have always been so kind to me. And to you know how the show happened, right? I
No, tell me.
basically just asked okay, so the seeds were planted in October 2023, right? I went to the Sirith Ungol show. I was wearing a Liege Lord shirt, and the guy from Electrocution remarked, he saw my shirt, said, "Hey, cool shirt, man." We started chatting, and we became friends that night, right? As I'm walking out at the end of the show, Tony from Liege Lord sees me, and he pulls me aside. I didn't know what he looked like at this point, right? He's always undercover wearing a hat, wearing his New York Yankees hat. And
Yeah.
he's like, "Hey, I'm the right?" And so he's like, "Hey, I'm the founding member of that band." I'm like, "Are you Anthony Trulio?" And he's like, "Yes." And
Yeah.
we started chatting, became friends. And he's like, "Oh, I'm here with Mike Sabatini too." And I've known Sabatini kind of sparsely throughout the years. I've seen Attacker many times over since the early 2000s. And my appearance has changed a lot, so he didn't exactly remember who I was. But he back in 2003, they did this show down in Hoboken, I think, and it was attached to like this Mexican restaurant, and they
Yeah,
were doing
yeah,
a
I was
show.
there.
It was Attacker in October. Yeah, you were at that show with October
Yeah,
31,
yeah,
and
okay.
yeah, I'm friends with King Fowley. And I was like, okay, let me go early, grab something to eat, and then I'll wait for King to come and we'll chill out. So I get there early, I sit down, and the Attacker crew walks in, right? And they grab chairs, and the bands get to eat free, right? They turn around and see me and say, "Hey, are you here for the Attacker show?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." And he's like, "Hey, come sit with us. You get a free meal. You're an Attacker today." And we, became friends then. So that's the metal community. So flash, 20 years later, I'm talking to Sabatini, reminding him like of that story. He's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I remember." They're very modest, like, "Yeah, it's not a big deal, cool." But yeah, I kind of poked him a little bit. It's like, "Hey, how would you be interested in doing a show with us?" He's like, "Oh, talk to me. We'll think about it and see if we can get something going." Once our record came out in Golden Core, it gave us a little bit of street cred. And Mike Sabatino was so supportive. He actually bought the vinyl and he listened to it for the first time. He said, "Hey, I really like this. Let me know if you want to do the show." And we met up at the this Lee Sword concert they were doing in Connecticut. It was like a free show for the town of Ansonia. And I talked to him. I was like, "Hey, listen, man. You think we could do the show?" I tried getting Lee Lord on too, but they were unable to. They're all spread out all over the place. But Attacker was Mike Sabatino was like, "Yeah, let's do it, man." And then yeah, we booked it. So this was like in the making for a long time for me. And so
You're
to
not
me,
kidding.
that's an example of the metal community. Like 20 something years in the making, this all happened.
Yeah, we are definitely the best community when it comes to, melding with each other. Like I said, you go to a show, you see somebody with a shirt on of a band, and the next thing you know, you're best friends. You're going out for a beer and pizza after that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
all it takes. It's just, we connect
Oh, yeah.
so easily with people that are similar to us, like music-wise. It's just, that was one of the greatest things about being a metalhead for me for the last 45, almost 50 years now. So it's been an incredible, incredible thing. And, I mean, I know you're in Connecticut these days. I mean, back in the 80s, Connecticut was killer for its hardcore metal scene. I mean, Obsession, like I said, Legion
Hmm.
was so many bands came out of that area. How is
Oh
it today?
man.
I mean, is there enough of a
Yeah.
scene to keep you busy like locally?
Not really. So the thing with Connecticut is it's a bit challenging for our style, right? With the melodic style of metal. They tend to gravitate towards more like an extreme style. There's a New England
Okay.
sound, like that Heat-free sound, and which is cool.
Yeah.
Like totally, yeah, everyone's having a good time, and they allow us to put on shows. And then when we do shows, we are able to draw, but there's no incentive to really do more than maybe one show a year. In fact, this year we might not have time to do a Connecticut show, but it's okay because they've seen this show, they've seen this set list already, and have a good relationship with the people here. There's some really fantastic bands here. They're doing some really cool stuff, and there is a strong supportive community. I just think the taste is just a little bit different from what we do.
Yeah, hopefully it'll come back around again. You want to play out as much as you can, but you don't want to play in the same spots too often because if people are like, well, I saw them 2 weeks ago, they'll be back next week, they'll be back the week after. So, I mean,
Yeah.
as much as you
So,
want to play as many shows live as you can, how often do you say to yourselves, hey, we got to kind of spread this out a little bit. We don't want to just keep hitting the same spots. Like Megadeth will come around every 3 months for a while, like after COVID.
yeah, yeah. I mean, for us, we kind of don't have much of a choice. Everyone's got jobs. Some of us have kids. So it's we can only commit to so much. So what we do is for the limited shows that we do is that we spread it out as much as possible, cover a region that we're comfortable doing, and we're pushing ourselves. We did Indiana last year, Indiana, Ohio, and we might go a little bit past Indiana depending if I can book something. But that also, there's a cost that comes with that too. So between the logistics and the cost, we keep the number of shows low, but we try to make it as quality as possible and spread it out, and put any additional funding into like promoting those shows. So when we go in
True.
cold, we actually have an audience coming in.
Well, that's a good thing. Hey, man, I'm going to let you go in about 2 minutes because I want to play another song. I got another guest
Yeah,
coming up after this. I'm going to try to make the
sure.
show in May in Brooklyn. You're playing in Williamsburg in Brooklyn. I'm going to try to make that show. I'll get to see you then,
Awesome.
hopefully, live. It'll be great. I'm hoping that the new record comes out next year. You come back on here again. You want to bring the rest of the band with you. We'll do this all over again, and we'll pick up where we
Yeah,
left off.
would love to, man. I appreciate everything you do for the metal community. You're amazing. People like you are what keep this thing alive.
It's thanks to people like you to keep making music. I thank you very much.
Of course, takes all of us, man. We're a team.
You got it, man. You take care. Have a great night, my friend, and we'll talk hopefully in
You
May.
too, brother. Thank you again.
Take care. Bye bye.
Absolutely. All right.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
let's get on some more unknown. It's hard to say unknown without saying the unknown, but unknown. Here's Fury.
As the world fell, we find ourselves broken, searching for
man, that's some great stuff. Unknown Fury, absolutely love it. Hey, next week is the last show for the whole month of April because of the holiday, and I'm on vacation the final week of the year. But next week, my brother from another Canadian mother, Kurt Phillips from Witch Killer is on the show. George Cole from Masker is on the show. We got a great one, at least to wrap up the month. I think my Easter plans might change. We might be doing it here in my house and having a smaller holiday. So if that's the case, maybe I'll come down. I'll do a little show. We'll see how it goes. I'll let you know next week. I don't want to book any live guests for that show in case we don't do it, like we have a scheduled not to do. But if we do, I'll see if I get a pre-recorded interview up from somebody that week. All right, we got to play some Primal. Glenn Rogers is going to be on the show when we come back on live in May, on the May 4th show. His band Primal has a new record coming out called Iron Age. We're going to play the title track of that in a little while. We'll get something on next off the new Jack Starr record, Out of the Darkness Part 2. And Christian wanted to hear something by Scavenger, the original Scavenger, not the Scavenger that's playing today with all unoriginal members in the band. As far as talking with Jack a while back, a little after we had the interview with him on the show, and that was like almost a 2-hour interview with Jack. And he was like, "Can you cut this out? Can you maybe take that out?" I'm like, "It was done live. We can't take nothing out." I mean, we did edit out, when he was talking about the person that gave him a lot of trouble with the record. And I think I kind of mentioned off air who that was to a lot of people, even though I probably shouldn't have. But you all, he was a death rider. But we'll just leave it at that. But let's get on some Primer right now. Off the new record, Iron Age, the title track, Iron Age.
The skies are falling. We
All right, there you go. Primal Age, Iron Age, Primal with Iron Age. I don't know what happened right now. All the songs kind of went kaput on me here, so I'm not getting anything to play right now. So how about we try this and see if that works? Yeah, we just lost everything in the on the switchboard. I'm very surprised. All right, you know what? Let's get the Liv Christine. We'll talk to her. I gotta see if I can do the trifecta this year and get V back on the show and Doro. Those are my three favorite girls to talk to. But right now, let's see if Liv Christina, I can if I can get this connected. Hang on, bear with me. Nah, something went wrong here. I don't know. Nothing's playing in the switchboard, so I don't know. I gotta figure this out. But it's kind of hard to do when you're on the air live, right? All right, let me go. Let that go for a little bit while we do that. Let's see what's going on here. Hey, I don't know if you saw this week. Jack Panzer had their album cover stolen by some other artist. It's some guy from I think it's up in the Netherlands or something. It's like a one-man band. What the hell was this guy's name? So Secretos Magus, he goes by. That's his name. And the band is Antiquus Ceridium or something. I can't even pronounce all this crap, but he took their album cover and he used it for one of his album covers. How do you, I mean, this guy, when you go back and look at this guy's albums, he's taken album covers from everybody over the years. I can't believe nobody ever noticed this before. It was for the Deviant Chord record by Jack Panzer. He took that from the band and he used it on his album cover. So somebody brought it to Mark Barodi's attention and he reached out to them and they did remove it. Then he put up another album cover which was stolen by another band. So go figure that one out before he put up a third one that didn't belong to anybody. It was like the weirdest thing. So Mark's like, I reached out to him, and then like a couple of days later, I get an email from I don't know if I still have it. Let me take a look. I get an email from the label. I don't think I have it here anymore. From what the hell was the name of the record label over here? I'm trying to fix the issue with the switchboard as I'm talking to you, so forgive me if I'm stuttering. Still Symphony Records was the label that put it out. They sent out an email to me saying that they dropped that artist from the label. They were going to be the first release. I'm like, if you're a new label, you're putting out a first release, why would it be by a one-man band who's been around for so many years putting out shitty records? And they're like, so he writes down that the guy lied to me. He didn't write most of the songs. He stole it from other people. The people that he says he works with in America that are writing everything in English, he didn't do that. So I'm like, all these bands out there, I mean, look, right here, tonight's show, The Unknown would have loved to have been on a label like that, especially the first artist. They went for some crap like this, and he kind of screwed them over. So now he's on his third album cover. Who the hell knows with this guy? Some crazy shit. But I'm having trouble getting anything on the switchboard to work, so we might have to actually end tonight's show and have Liv Christine on another night because I'm not having any luck making anything work, and I do apologize for that. I don't even know if anything is coming through at all. If it is, let me know in the chat room because it just seems like we kind of froze the time over here. Yeah, everything froze up, so I don't know what to say to anybody out there. I do apologize, but it is what it is. So we might have to end tonight's show this way. All right, I think we got things back up and running here. That's there was an upgrade for a bug fix. I think they put the bug in the fix because nothing was working there. So who the hell knows? All right, I think we're back live right now. I apologize for everybody who has some dead air over there for a little bit of time. Let's try some Jack Star again, see if this works. Who the hell knows?
Traveling a highway that never ends. Trapped in a world without a friend. They try to tell us their dirty lies, but we got the power. Tonight we ride. We got the power. Tonight we ride. We got the power. Tonight we ride. Don't try to stop us. Tonight we ride. This is our moment, this is our time. We wanna live while we're still alive. Don't ask the reason, don't ask me why. We're breaking out, tonight we ride. We're breaking out, tonight we ride. We're breaking out, tonight we ride. Don't try to stop us, tonight we ride. Racing across the night wind, cold in my back. I can hear the thunder crash. I'm never, never going back. You live your life and I'll live mine. Don't try to tell me how to spend my time. The road is calling, I can't go slow. Chasing a dream that I won't let go. We're heading out, tonight we ride. We're breaking out, tonight we ride. We're breaking out, tonight we ride. Don't try to stop us, tonight we ride. We're heading out, tonight we ride. Don't try to stop us, tonight we ride.
Well, I guess we're down again. Nothing's working. So we got that one more song out of that, but that was about it. I tried to play Scavenger. That didn't work either. So I think we're back in the same boat. But if you guys were hearing me talk before, then I'll just keep on talking. So if that makes it work, that makes it work. But maybe it's just a different song. Maybe it's just that song. I don't know. Let me try something else. Let me see if I can do Live Christine again. No, nothing's working again. So I think we're going to be down for tonight, guys, because this is just going to keep going on. I don't know what's happening. There's some kind of bug or something happening over here and things aren't working. I'll try one more time, see if that does anything. Nah. Yeah, I apologize, guys. Everything looks like it's down tonight. Nothing's working right. So, I don't know what to do about that. I do apologize. So maybe we'll just wrap it up here tonight. We'll call it a night, an hour and a half show. I apologize to everybody. You know what? Maybe we'll do the show Easter and we'll do the Liv Christine interview on that show. But that's all I can do. I don't know what's happening here. I have to figure it out when we're off the air. So I want to thank Amir for being on tonight's show. I apologize that we didn't get to the Liv Christine interview. We'll have that maybe in 2 weeks. That'll give us a reason to come and do a show on Easter Sunday. So I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I do appreciate it. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to log you guys out of here. But have a great night, everybody. Take care, and I apologize for what happened. Bye bye.